Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Sports Talk Nation. Michael Cohen here with you. The New York Mets are making the NL East interesting. The Mets taking out the Philadelphia Phillies in walk-off fashion. 6-5 the final on Tuesday evening. They have won the first two games of this series. Blowout fashion on Monday, 13-3. The walk-off, as I just mentioned, 6-5. And all of a sudden, the deficit that was once 7 games is now down to 5 games with 30 to play. And yes, this is a Mets team, as I've said before in past videos, and I think we've all felt this way. We've been wondering for a very long time, when will this Mets team start to figure things out? And I think, certainly over the last couple of days here, not just with this Phillies series, but you go back over to the weekend when the Mets took the first 2 games against the Atlanta Braves in blowout fashion on both Friday and Saturday night, that it feels like the vibe is starting to change just a little bit, and the Mets are starting to figure out, and they are figuring out as a team. This isn't what we saw earlier in the year where you have like one guy hitting well and nobody else is, a couple of guys hitting well, and others are struggling. This is a situation where the entire lineup right now is clicking on all cylinders, and they're doing that even when all the issues, and there are issues, and we'll get to them in a minute, with this Mets pitching staff. Oh boy, especially in that bullpen. We'll get into more of that in a moment, but enjoy this one because the Mets needed this one against the Philadelphia Phillies because now they have won 9 in a row against the Phillies at home. 9 in a row, going back to last postseason in the National League Division Series. They have now posted a record against Philadelphia of 6-2 this year in 2025, and they have 5 more games on the schedule against the Phillies. One tomorrow night against the Phillies, and then a few series down in Philadelphia in a couple of weeks. And for the Mets, all they need to do is win one more game, and they'll have the season series in their back pocket. Meaning that should this race in the NL East get even tighter, where the Mets are competing with the Phillies neck and neck in the last week or so, couple weeks of this season, and it comes to head, the Mets would have that advantage if that should come to pass. So this was a huge victory for the Mets on Tuesday evening in so many ways, as the one thing that the Mets did, and certainly they did hit a lot of home runs in their game against their series against the Atlanta Braves, including 6 home runs in the game on Friday Saturday when they won 12-2. And they certainly hit a lot of home runs last night as well. But one thing I've noticed from the Mets is they are manufacturing runs. They are building innings. They are playing small ball. And you saw a lot of that on Tuesday night. Just take a look at this. Mets are down 2-0 early in this game, 5th inning. And you have Juan Soto coming up with a couple of guys on. Gary Cohen setting up the table saying, hey, look, Juan Soto hasn't hit a 3-run home run all year. And a perfect spot for him to do that. But what does he do? He goes the other way and gets a base hit to center field, drives a run in. Keeps the merry-go-round going. Pete Alonso comes up a couple batters later. He lines a double into the gap in left center field. That drives in a couple of runs. All of a sudden, Mets are up 3-2, and then you see Mark Vientos, who has been scorching hot lately. We'll get to more on him in just a minute. He gets a base hit, makes it 4-2, and then Brandon Nimmo the sac fly. Mets up 5-2. It's those kind of innings that make you feel really good about this team. Those are the kind of innings that you want to see in postseason play from teams that are competing in the postseason, especially in October. You want to be not just clicking all cylinders offensively, but you want to manufacture runs, and you want to build over the course of an inning. You want to have a long, extended inning if you're going to have success in the postseason, and that's the kind of inning we saw here, kind of innings we've been seeing from the Mets lately, especially over the last week. And then as you go through this game, look, I'll get into it right now. This bullpen, this pitching staff scares me, okay? Sean Manaea couldn't get through the 5th inning, 4 2/3. It's the second straight night where the Mets have had one of their starters not go into the 5th inning, get into or through the 5th inning. Of course, Kodai Senga couldn't get through the 5th inning last night on Monday. Tonight it was Sean Manaea, and this has been a problem. Outside of David Peterson and Noah McLean. Nobody on this Mets rotation can get into the fifth inning or out of the fourth inning at times. And that's a huge problem because once again, Carlos Mendoza having to go into that bullpen. It's been overworked for most of this year. And he's got guys on the IL, Reed Garrett on the IL right now. And we all knew when Ryan Helsley came to this game, something bad was going to happen. You could just feel it. Here's a guy who's been struggling since he's come here to the Mets after the trade deadline with St. Louis. And he pitched okay in a blowout game yesterday, the game the Mets won in a rout. And you're going to bring him back now in a pressure situation in a 2-run game in the 8th inning, and he can't handle it. Gives up the 2-run shot to a guy I felt the Mets should have kept last year, or at the end, or certainly going into this year, in Harrison Bader. I thought the Mets should have brought him back this year. They didn't do it. He went free agent, signed with the Twins, as we know, and then was eventually traded to the Philadelphia Phillies. And he burns his old team, hits a 2-run bomb, ties this game up at 5, and you're just saying, what else could go wrong? But that was it. That was as bad as it got for the Mets in this game. Everything else was gravy. Edwin Diaz, great job. Going 1 2/3 innings, 4 strikeouts. He looked great. What an at-bat against Kyle Schwarber. After Schwarber hit one to the moon, then went foul. Edwin Diaz comes back with some cheese. Fastball, 98 miles an hour. Another fastball, 98 miles an hour, and strikes him out swinging. Even gets Bryce Harper swinging on a strikeout as well. Gets out of that situation, and that sets the table for the 9th inning. And this is what I'm talking about. Small ball. Manufacturing runs, building offense, and having an opportunity to give your team a chance to win. And the Mets did that. And I love the fact that Brandon Nimmo brought this up in the post-game interview at the sideline, outside the dugout. The Mets going up against Johan Duran, one of the best closers in the game, and certainly a guy who's been red hot since the Phillies picked him up from Minnesota. You see Starling Marte get a base hit, extends his hitting streak to 6 games. Pete Alonso gets a base hit against him as well, but this inning was all determined on Brett Beatty's at-bat. It's very easy for Brett Beatty to go up there trying to swing away with nobody out and 2 runners on. Absolutely, the young player. Instead, he's very patient at the plate. They didn't decide. They could have bunted with him. They decided not to do it. They asked him to take the at-bat and swing, and instead he works to 3-1, takes one bad swing at 3-1, forces to get to 3-2 when he swung on the off-speed pitch outside, but then comes back, gets just enough of the ball to bloop it into left field, and that moves runners up. Base is loaded, nobody out, and here comes Brandon Nimmo, who then wins it with a base hit single as the Mets take the game 6-5 and have won a series against the Philadelphia Phillies, and as they have won 6-5 and 13-3 in the last 2 days. They could sweep the series, obviously, on Wednesday, but look, not to get too greedy. Of course we want to get greedy, but this has got to make you feel good if you're a Met fan because you're finally seeing this offense click. You're seeing the players start to get that feel and that vibe going that now you're competing for postseason. Now this is a pennant race, and they have turned the NL East into a pennant race. Now, a couple other players I just want to quickly just shout out here because they've been playing a big role in the way things have turned around here for the Mets. As I mentioned, this lineup, now everyone's starting to hit consistently. You have guys like Mark Vientos, I just mentioned, has been hitting the baseball very well. He has now extended his hitting streak with the base hit he had today to 9 games. He has now, on a 9-game hitting streak, he has had 5 home runs and 14 RBIs in this stretch, and he's starting to look like the hitter we saw last year. It's been a very rough year for him this year. He has not been hitting well, but he's really turned it on here in the last couple of weeks and has been hitting the ball extremely well. Starling Marte. Remember when Starling Marte was really healthy, fully healthy a couple years ago, and he played a big role in 2022 with this team when they won 101 games? He is now healthy again. And it's no coincidence that this team is now starting to hit the ball well as a team, and they're winning games. He is now running a 6-game hitting streak as Starling Marte. He is a big part of this offense. He has been since he's been here with the team, and it continues here in 2025. So he is contributing again. And then you have guys who don't normally contribute, having big outings. Obviously, Luis Torrens is the biggest, latest example. 5 RBIs of the day against the Phillies. I mean, it's incredible what they're doing right now. So, not only that, not only is that the good news, but you have good news as well going out in Hollywood, as the Dodgers are helping the Mets right now. They're up 6-1 as I am recording right now, 6-1 on the Cincinnati Reds. So if the Reds lose that game, the Mets will have a 3.5 game lead for the final wild card slot. So the Mets' postseason positioning gets better by the day, and that's all you can. That's really all you can ask for. They are now a more of a cushion in the wild card. They still have a series to go with the Reds, of course, in a couple of weeks. Obviously, this is now becoming about chasing Philadelphia and getting a chance. About chasing Philadelphia and having a chance to win this division. And I don't know how it's going to all shake out as far as seeding is concerned, but you want to have a chance to win this division and have a chance to maybe get that break away from the wild card, or at the very least host the wild card. You'd rather host a team like the San Diego Padres or the Phillies rather than have to go out to the West Coast if you were the Mets. So this huge series for the Mets. You got to. I'm starting to feel a little bit better about this team right now. Of course, do I have questions? Absolutely. Are there warts with this team? Absolutely. Could things change in the next couple of days? Of course. But you got to feel good about where they are. Now, a couple more items here with the Mets. There has been fair criticism, certainly, about the moves or lack thereof that the Mets front office have made to improve or not improve this pitching staff, where you want to criticize them over the guys they brought in like Helsley or Tyler Rogers, or if you want to criticize them for not bringing in a starting pitcher to help this team right away. The one thing that the Mets have done is this. They have built a heck of a minor league system. Remember when Steve Cohen bought this team? And one of his missions that he spoke about was that he wanted to build a sustainable future through the minor league system. Well, all of a sudden, and we saw it this afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, that the New York Mets were named by ESPN as the team with the best minor league system in baseball. That's huge. The best. And we've already seen one example of that come up already with Noah McLean, who's looked good for 2 starts. And here comes another one on Friday night in Jonah Tong. Jonah Tong has been skyrocketing through the Mets minor league system. Like a rocket, right? Pitched great. Just a couple weeks ago, he was in Double-A Binghamton, and he was lighting up the radar gun. He was striking people. He was shutting people down in Double-A. Then he got promoted to Triple-A, looked great over there, and the Mets, of course, felt, let's give this guy a shot because he has excelled everywhere we've asked him to go, and now you bring him up now, right before the September 1st expansion of the rosters to 40. Smart move, because now that player is going to be available for postseason in Jonah Tong, and you give him a chance to extend this rotation a little bit. You get another young arm in there with McLean, and now all of a sudden, if Tong lives up to the billing of what he can be, of being a really, really good pitcher who has really good stuff, and he's a very young guy. I saw him. I was in the scrum a couple weeks ago in Somerset when he met with the media. He's just a kid. He looks like a high school kid. That's how young he is. 162 strikeouts in 102 innings this year. He has an ERA of 1.46. Right now, he had an ERA in 20 starts in Double-A of 1.59. All right, he had in 2 outings at Syracuse, 11 2/3 innings, scoreless in 2 innings in Triple-A with 17 strikeouts. Now he doesn't have, stuff that's going to blow up the radar gun. Right, let up the radar gun. Let's say he's going to be in the upper 90s, but he has good stuff. He has good control, and the Mets are going to give this guy a chance. And if he lives up to the billing and he pitches great, and McLean continues to pitch great, maybe it gives some of these other guys like Minaya and Senga time to figure things out and extend themselves a little bit with a little bit of extra rest here. All of a sudden, Mets are looking pretty good as we move towards postseason play, and their chances at postseason look a little bit better. Now, very quickly, let's flip over to across the Bronx to the Yankees. They took care of the Nationals 5-1. They beat up on the bad teams. I give them that. They do that to the Yankees. They'll beat up on the bad teams that struggle, like the Nationals. The Rays have been struggling lately. The Cardinals, of course, have been struggling here down the stretch. But when it comes to teams that could be in a postseason, the Yankees are the team that struggles. They got owned by the Red Sox last weekend, including getting blown out 12-1. So, well, yes, if you're a Yankee fan, you're happy you're on a 3-game winning streak, but you have to be concerned. Even though the Yankees' chances to get to the postseason are certainly better than they were a couple weeks ago, and they've been playing better baseball than they did over the last few weeks, I would be concerned if I were a Yankee fan because they just don't look like a good matchup against the Red Sox. Red Sox look crisper, they look younger, they look faster. They have the young ace that the Yankees right now don't have. So they are right now head and shoulders above the Yankees. And if these two teams meet in the short series in a wild card, you have to favor the Red Sox right now. Not to mention, you have all this drama around Anthony Volpe going right now. He is in a 1-for-32 skid, 0-for-4 today against the Nationals. The fans are booing him left and right, of course, over the errors that he's had. He has had a rough season with this team, and like I said, unless the Yankees as a team hit a lot of home runs, like they did the other night against Washington, like Jazz Chisholm hitting a huge home run, flipping a bat in the air. Unless they have those kind of nights, it's tough to see this. It's tough to imagine this team having a success in the postseason. Not that they can't, but it's hard to see. We'll see what happens when we get there. Now, obviously, like I said, Yankees percentage-wise may be in better position than the Mets are as far as postseason is concerned today. But if you ask me who I feel better in a short series, Mets or Yankees, I would say the Mets. Granted, we all know about their flaws as well. So that's where we are right now. That's the dichotomy of the two teams right now in New York. Leave your thoughts below. Tell me how you feel. Boy, what a stretch here for the Mets. 2 huge wins against the Phillies, coming off the big series win against Atlanta. And, of course, Yankees feeling okay at taking care of business. Let's just say that. Leave your thoughts below. We'll talk to you next time.